Hello to everyone watching. This is my friend Omer. He studied in UCL for last couple of years and he's doing his PhD in environmental science and forestry from the same university. You're in the last thesis year, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's my last year of my PhD.
Yeah. So you are going to tell about us about deforestation, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So can you tell me what are the main causes of deforestation? How is it is destroying our environment and our habitat for us and for animals both?
Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be talking about today deforestation, as you mentioned. My majors being environmental sciences. I'm going to talk about first of all what deforestation is. Because it's in environmental sciences. This is a vast topic. It covers not one thing but a lot of things, which is also what the reason why I came to Istanbul. Specifically because I was basically studying the greenery and forestry in Turkey and how deforestation hit Turkey. Not just deforestation. If you remember correctly, in 2021, there was a huge forest fire in the northern side of Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot the name of the forest, but
Yeah, you're right.
that happened. Uh, so
Towards the bottom part, I think. Antalya bottom part.
I suppose so. I think it was the northern part, like near the Black Sea region, but I'm not sure. Of course, you live in here, you know better than me. In my trip here, I've been to Belgrade Forest as of now because it's only been like 3 days since I'm in Istanbul. So of course, it's a beautiful country. I want to explore more. Anyways, heading back to the topic, deforestation. You asked me. So your question about deforestation, I would just like to answer it in one word: urbanization.
Urbanization.
Mm.
So you can elaborate how urbanization is destroying the forest and deforestation as a main cause of it.
So, to understand the root cause of deforestation due to urbanization, you need to first understand what is urbanization. So, urbanization basically was a process of the industrialization process started back in the early 50s, 60s. Some countries in the 70s even, but it right now I believe urbanization is all around the world. So what urbanization means is basically wherever there's industry, wherever there's businesses and jobs, opportunities, basically, urbanization exists in every part, right? So you make houses for people to live in, you make roads for people to travel on, right? All the supply chain, all logistics, basically every business to exist exists because of urbanization, right? So so basically, that I'm from Pakistan, but for the viewers, I'm Pakistani myself. So, what are the three main things that a person lives for? First of all, it's food. Of course, it's a basic necessity. Then a roof, right? And the third one is a garment, right? You need a roof to cover your head. You need food to fill your stomach, and you need a cloth, a garment to cover yourself. All three of these industries are the ones which revolutionized the industrial revolution. Basically, these were the one that brought about the change, right? So all three of those are directly related to urbanization. So let's assume we are sitting in Istanbul, but 20 years earlier, so as far as my research has told me, the area of Beylikdüzü and the neighboring areas, I'm not really familiar with the names, but these parts,
The specific parts are not known by you, but I know about them.
Exactly. I don't know much because it's
here.
only been 3 days, but according to my research, Beylikdüzü is a big part which has been a target directly of urbanization. So what happened is it used to be a forest and a series of hills. As my research tells me, Istanbul is known as Yeditepe, which translates to the city of seven hills, right? And also forests. So why is Beylikdüzü now a center for people to live in? Which it wasn't a few decades ago. It wasn't. Why? Because they've cut down the forests, they've built houses, they've built huge shopping malls, skyscrapers, apartments, and all those because people want to come here. People see opportunity here, right? People see jobs, businesses, development, right? So wherever there's development, there's urbanization. So in the UK, it's 25% forests only, right? Even then, so what they're doing is, for example, if I talk about London, London used to be just one part, which is now called Zone 1, the central London, right? There used to be just one zone, which is central London.
Back in the 90s.
No, not in the 90s. Way earlier before that, like back in the, 19th century, early 20th century. Then they started to, when after Industrial Revolution, after the First World War, they started industrializing everything, right? So they needed people to work, they needed places for people to stay. So they made a zone 2, right? But now there are 4 zones in London currently, and they're planning on making a 5th one. So Stonehenge, which used to be far from London City, maybe after a decade or two might be a part of London City. Why is that happening? Because those are greenlands that they're inhabiting, right? They're finishing forests and they're bringing in people to live there. So what happens to the species that already exist over there, who are coexisting with nature over there? What happens to them? So basically, deforestation is destroying the earth, right? So, okay, you and I, we are breathing oxygen. I mean, I'm breathing more than just oxygen at the moment, but in a wider sense, we are breathing oxygen at the moment. Who produces this oxygen?
Trees, of course.
Of course, trees, right? When we exhale our carbon dioxide, right? Who purifies this carbon dioxide into oxygen?
The trees.
Exactly. What happens when you start cutting down the trees? Who is going to purify your carbon dioxide into oxygen? No one.
No one.
Exactly. So that is what deforestation is doing to this world. It's a huge contributor to global warming, as you all know. So what global warming does is, for example, in the UK, it used to be very cold back in the day, right? But now, in May, it starts to get warm. I mean, May is supposed to be warm, but April end, mid-April, sometimes it gets warm. It stays warm like this until mid-September, sometimes even October. Why? Why are the winters so delayed? We're slowly moving towards, a gradual ice age, like we did thousands of years ago. Why is that happening? Because of global warming. Because we're destroying our forestries, and we're basically pushing winters away. We're basically exposed to the sun directly. So when that happens, our oxygen resource is completely depleted, right? So once that's depleted, our carbon dioxide, it goes up. And what does that do? That opens the gates for global warming. That basically destroys our environment as we know it. So that is what's, deforestation doing to our earth. And what causes it, to answer your question, urbanization in simple words. People are moving to urban areas for opportunities, but what are we doing? For example, if I as I told you about London, as I told you about Istanbul, there's a whole ghost town in Turkey where there are villas, huge bungalows, huge villas, billions of dollars worth invested on that piece of land, which is also worth billions, I'm assuming. Yet it is a ghost town. No one lives there. Why doesn't anyone live there? Why? Can you answer my question? Why doesn't anyone live there?
Well, there can be very different kind of perspectives according to this, but I think because of maybe it could be due to many factors. Can you tell me?
Well, from my perspective, there's only one factor. That's because there's no jobs available
No
there.
jobs available.
Exactly. There's no opportunities to grow, right? So in this world, in this capitalist world, you find opportunities to grow. You're not going to find them in a ghost town. I mean, who's going to find anything in a bloody ghost town? You're going to have to move to an urban center, which in this case is going to be Istanbul, right? So when you come to Istanbul, what do you see? You see millions of people coming in, millions of tourists, immigrants, people who want to work, not just from outside Turkey, but also from within, right? People from smaller cities would definitely come to Istanbul to try and make a life for themselves. Where do you put those people? I mean, you don't have enough houses, you know? You've already moved to an apartment culture, a high-rise culture. So what do? You don't have enough land to keep them. You start building houses in a y-axis instead of an x-axis, a y-axis, right? You start building
high-rising buildings.
Exactly, high-rise apartments. And when you don't have land to do that, what do? You start cutting down forests. When you cut forests, not only do you deplete the oxygen resources, you increase the carbon dioxide in the air. You are killing animals, basically. So the animals which used to inhabit those areas are no longer going to inhabit those areas now. What happens in a case like that is you're basically playing with the ecosystem of the country. Right. So now, could you tell me, like, what was the weather in Istanbul like these past few months?
It has been pretty odd. It was like in summer, you can say season, it has been very cold.
It's June, right?
June.
It's the first week of June. You're wearing exactly my point. You're wearing a jacket and it's June. I mean, okay, maybe in Australia you can do something like that. Maybe New Zealand, yeah. Okay, but that's the other side of the earth. Let's not talk about those. Let's talk about Greenland, right? In Greenland, you can be expected to do something like that. Maybe in some of the Scandinavian countries. But you would definitely not assume to do something like that in Istanbul. Istanbul is like the center of the earth, right? It's Middle East, it's Asia, it's Europe, it's Africa even, right? So in a city like this, I would never expect the cold weather to be there in June, in May or June. I mean, June is a big stretch. I wouldn't even expect the weather like that to be here in April or May. But I mean, it was. Why do you think that is? It's because of global warming. It's messing around with the seasons. The kind of impact that has on your earth is unspeakable. It's unbearable, basically, right? So, to answer your question, what is deforestation? This is what deforestation is. And what causes it is urbanization. What deforestation leads to is pure destruction. I mean, come on, mate. It's leading us to an ice age. What does an ice age lead to? More destruction, chaos. I mean, it's going to be a change for sure. Not a positive one, but there is going to be a change. Mark my words.
Yeah, you're right. Quite right in that perspective. I think the earth is going to reset itself. Like, because of our deeds, it's going to reset itself and we're going to return to the Stone Age.
I mean,
something like particular could happen if we do not stop it.
Not precisely Stone Age, but we are going to definitely reset, as you said. Yeah, we definitely, the earth might reset, taking us a few years behind from where we stand now.
A few is quite short.
I mean, with the technology and everything right now, I mean, it's difficult to say that we're going to go back into Stone Age, but it's definitely not going to be pretty. It's going to be bad, that's for sure. But to give you an example from Pakistan, where you're from, I'm from too.
Yes,
so
we're from Pakistan, I have to say that.
Yeah, we're both from the same country, so I understand the dynamics of how things work over there. So according to that, let me give you an example directly from Pakistan, right? So there's basically 5 provinces, but let's for administrative reasons they count as 4. So let's talk about the 4 provinces, right? Which province is the most highly densely populated province?
The Punjab province.
Exactly, Punjab. Why is that? Because it's greener, right? So in Pakistan, the largest province is Balochistan, right? Which is mainly barren. I mean, there's no agriculture there, there's no growth there, there's nothing there. But if you see the number of houses, in terms of number of houses, where are the most number of houses? It's definitely going to be Punjab. Why is that? Because people want to build houses on green areas. Now, do you know for a fact there's a place in Punjab called Doab? Do you know what Doab is?
Could be a river, name of a river,
No,
a barren place.
No, not exactly. For you and also for the viewers, the ones viewing this interview, let's say, Doab is it comes from the Persian language, which means do means two and ab means water, right? So Doab is basically the land between 2 rivers. And
a valley.
not a valley. A valley is like a land between surrounded with mountains. It's not that. It's like a land between two rivers. So basically, the finest rice, the finest quality of rice comes from Doab, a land between two rivers. And they're only like, I think in the whole world, there are 5 or 7, Doabs, like places like those. So I know for a fact one's in Egypt, one's in Pakistan, and there's like, 3 or 5 more of these in the world. There are a few in Africa. But yeah, it is the producer of the finest rice in the world, right? And in the Doab area now, they're building a whole housing society, and it's going to be a hell of it's going to be very, very expensive. But what it's going to do is it's going to finish your agriculture. Finish agriculture from our country. It's going to basically bring you back to square one, where you don't have good rice to eat. Now, we produce the finest rice there is in the world, but now because of that, we're going to have to import it. What's import going to do? It's going to cause more pollution. It's going to cost us more money. It's going to, open way for more logistics in a negative way. We don't need that. We don't want that. But we're going to have to do it. Why? Because people, due to urbanization, they want to use farming land as residential land. Instead, what should they do? Balochistan is completely uninhabited, right? There's nothing there, no one there. They should build a huge housing societies there for people to, just relax. And what do retired people go? Retired people go there.
Yeah, but for the political situation, you cannot say that. Like in terms, about the politics, about the thing, different kind of terrorism linked to Balochistan and the nationalist freedomist movement.
I wouldn't really comment on that, but
that's a different topic, I would say.
Definitely, I wouldn't really comment on that, but you see,
we could get in trouble.
I personally, I wouldn't get in trouble, but I would rather just stick to the topic we're talking about now. You're right. It's about politics, about power. Urbanization is about politics and power, right? Who cares about the environment in this world, in this capitalist world? Who cares about environment? There's one little thing that I always say: if happiness could be sold in bottles, the capitalist world would start selling happiness for money. They sell everything there is to sell, basically. So
they're doing the same thing, but with different products.
Exactly, they're using it so that land is worth so much, right? But what they're going to do, they're going to sell it and they're going to make houses on that land. So you are basically living on $1 billion land, $1 billion property. But what is that land giving you right now? Nothing. Exactly my point.
So can you tell me, how can we help to reduce this kind of urbanization and help to solve the issue of deforestation?
First of all, plant trees.
But before that, I want to say something to you.
Yes.
You gave a very detailed and specific answer about the topic. I thank you for you.
Oh, of course.
Because it can be very difficult to say these kind of things in terms of capitalist regime and your affiliation with the UCL and you're in a final year.
Well, we are actually we are encouraged to speak our minds. We are thinkers. We are the ones who are going to bring about change. If not us, then who? And it's not against the capitalist regime or anything. We live in the system. The thing is, this earth is our mother, right? It's Mother Nature. We're taken from it. We live on it. We eat from it. When we die, we go back to it, right? Which also is going to bring me to another topic of biodiversity, which I would like to discuss if you ask me so. But anyways, that's another topic. We should give something back. If we're not giving something back, the least we can do is just keep it so that, when your and my children grow up, they see a green earth. When their children grow up, they see a greener earth. If we're using it, we should give something back. And if we cannot give something back, at least let it live, let it be. So to talk about how we can solve this deforestation issue, first of all, just plant a tree. This is the first and foremost thing you must do. Start planting trees. If we plant a tree today, you're not going to reap the benefits of it, neither am I. But your child or my child will. Maybe their children will, all right? So we need to, first of all, think about the future. We cannot just dwell on the past or live in the present. We need to think about the future. We need to plan things, right? Other than that, so if I'm talking about how we can finish this, for example, let me take that Pakistan example into play here. let me put it this way. Instead of building a whole housing society in the Doab area, right? Use that for farming. Build it in Balochistan, right? If you're going to move the retired people somewhere, just move them there. Why? Because they already have money coming in the bank every month. Like the government's paying them for being retired and all. They have their different plans to support them. They can support themselves, right? So why not just live in an area where there's nothing and start building it? Start developing the areas where there's nothing. Like in Turkey, for example, instead of building huge skyscrapers in Beylikdüzü, let the forest remain, you know? Move your businesses someplace else. I mean, I know that there's a company called Akçansa. I mean, I've been privileged a lot. I've been there for a couple of times. It's like a huge crush processing plant. It's one of the branches in Istanbul actually, but I went to the Samsun one. There's a city called Samsun in Turkey. I went there. I was invited by the chief financial officer of Akçansa, a very good man, very decent fellow. So I went there. And, you know, just move your businesses to other cities. There's a lot of potential in Turkey specifically, right? So is there in Pakistan. But, I mean, we have to we have to break beyond those, you know, the glass ceiling. We have to break the glass ceiling. We have to go through it. And we have to just find other avenues. We need to make the earth a livable place for everyone. And we don't have to think about the next 5 years. We have to think about the next 50 generations. I mean, that's how we should go about it. But yeah, in simple words, that's how we should work, you know, to eradicate deforestation.
Yeah, but when you move to another city,
Mm-hmm.
same problem will happen in like 10 to 15 years, and same problem will rejuvenate itself. What we gonna do now after that it happens?
Well, it was a study in 2010 that I read somewhere that to keep the earth just the way it is, what we need to do is we need to keep 4%. Every country, except for the ones, of course, who cannot have forests. Like if we talk about some of the African countries which cannot possibly have forests. But I mean, there's no such country in the world which cannot have a forest except for maybe Antarctica somewhere, where there's nothing but snow or nothing but desert. Of course, that's understandable. But every country that can must have at least between 4 and 10% of land as forests, reserved forestries. In the UK, it's 25%, which is a very good level. But I mean, it's getting reduced by the year, but you know, every country must have at least 4 to 10% land reserved for forestries. And we must preserve them, right? Because then it brings me to my second point, if you allow me to speak, on biodiversity. So the earth, as we know it, is facing a huge biodiversity loss. So that brings me to my explanation. What is biodiversity? Do you know what biodiversity is?
Well, it's the diversity present in the forest or different kind of natural habitat, like it's habitats of different animals, insects, and the main roof that it all incorporates.
Well, that's the gist of it, yeah. Let me just clarify a few points for you about, you know, regarding biodiversity. So this world that we live in has an ecosystem. There's a whole ecosystem going, right? So when you're born, you eat, let's say, if not talking about the vegetarians, but I mean, you can include vegetarians in this as well, but let's say you eat meat, right? You eat cows or you eat goats, mutton or beef, right? So what do they eat? They eat the grass, right? So then you eat them and then you die. What do you go into the ground? What happens? You decompose. What do you become? You become grass.
It's a food chain.
Exactly. So when you become grass, they eat you, right? And then when they die or when they're butchered, you eat them, right? And after eating them, you die and then they eat you. It's a whole cycle. It keeps on going, right?
Yeah.
So that's in case of humans, right? Even for, let's say, in case of vegetarians, they eat
We're
whatever.
going to save it for the next episode. We have to finish this episode and we're going to save this for the next episode because we have to talk about something for the next topic also.
Okay.
You have to explain everything.
No problem then.
Okay.
Well, it was lovely having you, and it was lovely being a guest actually.
Yeah, of course, you're taking the interview from me, I think so.
No, it
You
was.
explained it so much better. I couldn't have thought about many points that you have raised your light upon. Thank you for your time.
Of course.
And you're here for in Istanbul for like 1 week, 2 weeks.
About a week, yeah. I'm gonna be here about another week, so it's totally 10 days. Three of them I've already been here, so another 7 days. Yeah.
So we're gonna meet again.
Of course, of course. The second episode. When do you want to do it? We could do it whenever. Yeah.
We can do it right now if you want.
I mean, I would need to set my facts straight. I mean, I could talk about biodiversity laws that's going on in the earth if you want.
Right now.
Yeah, no, but I think we can do it in another episode. No problem.
Thanks for your time.
Of course.
And see you in the next episode.
Of course.